Along with other sports, golf is quietly coming into Chinese day-to-day life with the tide of a growing economy. Meanwhile, top golf brands are knocking at the door of this emerging market. Now there are more and more children in China chasing after a golf dream, hoping one day to be an extraordinary professional golfer such as Tiger Woods. Beyond the sport itself, the culture that goes with golf is becoming part of some Chinese people's lifestyle. As in the West, golf provides the opportunity for conversation, negotiation, and a social life of its own. However, the association between golf and corruption is putting the Chinese golf industry in a dilemma. Companies face a tough decision: withdraw from the Chinese market or strive for a brighter future.
In the past 10 years, we've seen a clear change of lifestyle for people in China. Along with other sports, golf is quietly becoming one of the new choices for the middle-class Chinese. In addition to producing talents, the country is spending more time and money on sports in pursuit of a healthier and better life, with the potential golf industry appearing on the horizon. To discuss the Chinese golf industry and the lifestyle behind this, I'm very happy to be joined in the studio today by Xiang Foley, PGA Tour instructor, and Jack Zhang, founding managing partner of the Foley Performance Academy at Eagle's Dream. That's our topic. This is Dialogue. I'm Yang Ray. Welcome to Dialogue, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Let's be philosophical a little bit at the very beginning of our discussion on golf. What is the most elegant and charming part of this game for you, a very experienced and well-known coach in this industry?
Well, I think, life is, golf is a perfect microcosm for life in the sense that there's so many variables and things that are out of your control, and the key is to define a plan and define a process where within a routine we're moving from shot to shot to shot. It tests our frustration, it tests our will, our endurance, our integrity, our honesty. And for me, golf's a fantastic game in the sense that it really gives you a lot of evidence as well as experience in dealing with the things that you're going to be faced with in life.
And your perspective?
Well, as someone who is not growing up in the golf environment, I was born and raised in China, but I got exposed to golf at a later stage, actually through business interaction. And I probably enjoyed golf from a more organic angle, because that's the time you have to be very truthful to yourself and your playing partner. And it's hard to find that moment in life because you're running from place to place, but during that 4-hour time, you can do that. Be truthful to yourself, discover your weakness, try to conquer it, and I think that's what appeals to a lot of people.
Golf is not meant to be confrontational, and therefore the players that you work with within the next tend to be your buddy and partners. Is that true? And therefore in China, golf is known for years to be a very social networking activity. Is that true in the United States as well?
Yeah, I mean, I believe so. And also, like, if I look at my father, who took up golf in the mid-'70s, he was fortunate enough to convince DuPont, who he worked for, that allowing him a corporate membership would allow him to do business for 4 hours with clients in a setting to where he could see how they react to doing well and not doing well, and how they either played by the rules or not played by the rules. So it was basically a window into their soul to see how they reacted to failure and success. And I think that that really helped him in his understanding of his client and how he did business with them over many years.
Chinese cannot easily get addicted with whatever sports. Certainly not football at the moment. It's a big joke. But why do you think golf is called green opium in China?
I think go back to your point as well. Your father works in a big company, and then what's a better way to gain trust from your peer, from your business partner? I think that's one way to gain trust is to be truthful and show your trust. Absolutely. And there's no better place on the golf course, because if you become dishonest while you're dealing with a golf score or other things, you expose yourself, and people can see your personality. As I think that's why among some people who are early adapter in China, they realize the benefit. They really benefit on themselves and with people interaction. And then I think for the lack of a better word, they use it as a green opium. That's my way of looking at it. You probably have a deeper understanding.
No,
Tiger Woods, for example,
Yeah.
we cannot do discussion without mentioning this guy.
Your
Yes.
student. Yeah.
Your student?
yes.
Fantastic, cool. What's special about him?
Well, I think, I worked with Tiger Woods from 2010 until the middle of 2014. And I think what is special about Tiger is that he was physically built to play the game. So the ability to create power and speed through rotation and flexibility and strength, he was predisposed to that. But mentally, I think if you look at Tiger, his father was a Special Forces Green Beret, and his mother is a Buddhist from Thailand. So he had the training of very high warrior standard, but then also the peace and kind of objectivity of looking inward at himself and trying to find his peace of mind. So I think that his foundation being rooted in how his parents raised him, it was kind of the perfect storm to building the best player to ever play golf. And Tiger's a very curious person. He's a super learner. He just has such a powerful vision and ability to observe things. He's a man of few words. So he kind of lives under the mantra of having, one mouth and two ears. So he's always paying attention. He's always listening. And I think people think because he doesn't say much, that he's just an athlete. But he's a brilliant guy.
If I can add that point, why Chinese people appears to be very attractive to this game. Chinese people are hardworking. They're naturally curious. They like to improve things.
Yes.
And golf has it all. You can work on golf endlessly, and you can improve your golf game while you're improving yourself. You cannot improve the game without improving yourself.
A golf player, in your words, like Tiger Woods, is a man of a few words. Does it mean that he prefers to have a monologue instead of a dialogue with his partners along the 18 holes?
Yeah, well, I think it was always kind of misstated by the media in golf that, Tiger was this cold-hearted competitor. And when I started to coach him, it was amazing of how many guys said that he's just wonderful to play with, that he was always complimentary of the great shots that they hit, that he would walk down the fairway speaking to them. And they were all really surprised at really how warm-hearted and how supportive, even though he was obviously trying to beat them. I don't think he was ever trying to beat anyone. I think he was always trying to beat himself, and I think we're all trying to do that.
I drew some inspirations from what is called the Olympic spirit back in the year 2000 when the Sydney Olympics held. One of the signboards said in one of the streets of Sydney, to transcend oneself is better than beating others.
Yes, I agree 100%.
You agree?
Well, I just think that love is love is universal, and it's a way higher frequency than competition, which has a negative aspect to it. So to me, through love, compassion, and empathy in sport, that's a very high level of consciousness that people need to have. Yeah, absolutely.
Now let's take a look at the industry of golf itself, the commercialization. Compared with other national sports in the United States, like American football, baseball, NBA, what do you think of the appeal of golf in the commercial sense? Sean?
Well, I mean, I would say that not everyone is a team player, and golf gives individuals the ability. I mean, there's only a couple times within 2 years there's team events, so it's an individual sport. And I would say that even in business, where you have a group of people who are working together as a team to see the business progress, it still comes down to the decisions and the thoughts that you have in your own individual role. So I think golf gives us the opportunity to do it in so many different ways, and people are so different and so unique that there isn't really, there's a lot of style and preference to it, and that allows it to be more interesting to more people because it's not in the standard aspect of it has to be done a certain way. I mean, it can be done in many different ways, which is appealing.
Probably more popular. Consider that you don't see an 80-year-old playing football or even baseball, but you see plenty playing golf.
Absolutely.
And you see more family. Golf is the only game that father and son can play forever.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter how old you are. But football, you can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, for my father and I, and Jack and his son and daughter, golf takes quite a long time at 4.5 to 5 hours. Yeah. And so when I was 15 years of age, when was my dad going to have 4.5 or 5 hours to kind of observe and check out how I'm doing and to continue to give me wisdom and to just be together?
Are you both suggesting clearly that this prominent feature of golf enables the biggest group of consumers to be taken advantage of by the advertisers? And therefore, you see the lucrative aspects of golf, right, Jack?
Yeah, from business perspective, yeah, absolutely.
What's the price? What's the price tag of Tiger Woods?
Well, I mean, the one thing that Tiger Woods did in how he shifted the paradigm in a massive way is that when Tiger came on tour in 1996, the purses for the year totaled 69 million.
50 million.
And this year on the PGA Tour, the players are playing for about 297 to 300 million dollars. And
that's
so
a lot.
And that money comes from all those commercials, all those merchandise, right? They're promoting it.
Yeah, and the companies who have, we have the Volvo China Open happening.
Right.
It's the,
HSBC.
HSBC.
Shanghai, yeah.
So many different companies have used it as a platform to, for example, when I'm on the PGA Tour with my players, every Wednesday is the Pro-Am.
Yeah.
And the Pro-Am is all these different companies who are clients of the main company sponsoring the event, and they get to give their clients a very intriguing, in-depth look into what these players do and allow them to play with them. So without the sponsors, and obviously the TV deals that are massive.
And the charity too, not just on the commercial side.
Absolutely,
Charity
that's a great
is big
point.
part, yeah.
I know you guys have a lot to say about the United States concerning the success of golf, individually or for the whole country as a huge industry. But what about China? China is still a developing country from many standards. The development of golf courses comes under severe scrutiny from the central government or government at different levels because of the alleged corruption. Many government officials fell disgracefully due to their involvement in the game because their salary is pretty low. Meager income would not allow them to play on a regular basis in the golf course in China. And therefore, I'm wondering, Sean, why you have decided to come to China at this embarrassing moment when the anti-graft campaign is gaining momentum, when government officials and their descendants would give a second thought as to whether they should be viewed as a golfer, because that will have a lot of political implications, very bad implications. Now, if you do away with this market share, then the effects of winning or turning this into a lucrative business would be very murky, very dangerous. What do you think of the risk assessment here?
It is a business, but for me, it's a labor of love. And I think that golf given a chance, change happens slowly. It always has, and it always will. But when I think about a culture as great as China, from the history up to this present moment, and the rise of China, I think that over time it could be seen in a different light. We just have to give it time.
So Sean is still in the process, and I try my best to explain to him, which is what we're doing right now is on a different spectrum of what's going on with anti-corruption. Anti-corruption is on the real estate side. What we're doing is purely on the athletic, on the sports side.
Yeah.
And our major focus right now is young athlete. As a matter of fact, on this trip, we work with Zhonggaoxie, China Golf Association, because in the recent months, they just declared a plan, a grand plan, is that they want to produce 30 million young golfers in the upcoming decade for the preparation of upcoming Olympic game.
But you know, our President Xi Jinping is deeply and madly in love with football, not golf.
Right.
And therefore, he only had a free walk with President Donald Trump in Florida instead of playing golf like Shinzo Abe. Japanese practice this opportunity as networking to get close to the mind and heart of the newly elected President Donald Trump, whose presidential uncertainty has really generated a lot of headlines in the media. But therefore, the education of golf, like education of a ping pong diplomacy or football, may not be that popular. Sorry for saying that, but you need to have a clear assessment about the market.
Yeah, understood. I mean, I think that, you know, I appreciate I appreciate that angle, but like I said, I think that golf, given a chance, will be seen as a thing that is a great game that can be enjoyed. And I think with the hard working and intellect and intelligence of the Chinese people, that I think it's something that they could really succeed at on a major level, at the highest level of performance.
Thank you so much. You are watching Dialogue with Sean Foley and Jack Zhang. We are talking about not only golf itself, but first of all, to begin with, the education of golf and how to cultivate the burgeoning public awareness about how interesting this sport could be in the young Chinese market, where we have a lot of problems as the challenges are lying ahead. I suggest you stay with us. When we come back, we'll look at other vulnerabilities concerning the development of golf in China, as well as lifestyle of the middle class. Stay with us, please. Welcome back. We are talking about the official aspects concerning prospects of golf and development of the industry here. What about, say, individuality and the physical conditions? Because at the very beginning of your analysis on Tiger Woods, you said that he was physically built to play the game. In China, I hate to give any overtones about the racial discrimination, but can you raise a few examples to illustrate the success of Asians in the United States or Chinese Americans?
Well, I mean, working with the national team and then spending time in Beijing yesterday with many young players, I've been around this sport at an elite level for 25 years, and from my observations, I am fundamentally blown away at how fast these kids have increased their skill sets. And
what did you say
very
to them?
impressive.
For example, at the very beginning, did you say, hey, do you want to become Tiger Woods, or you want to know more about elegance concerning the game of golf? Because elegance is an attitude. It's more about an attitude instead of being having a superstar dream.
From a moral standpoint and an ethical standpoint. So it was never about the vision, or the dream was kind of there, but it was more just the day-to-day process of failing and learning and failing and learning and failing and learning. So as I said earlier, it being the ultimate microcosm of life, if great things come from it on the periphery, that's an excellent thing, but it's there to teach you to take one step at a time, hit one shot at a time, not get ahead of yourself, and not look backwards. So it teaches us how to be present and have access to a really incredible opportunity to learn about ourselves.
And remember, Tiger Woods is half Asian.
Yeah.
So we talk about, is there any disadvantage of being Chinese? Yeah, I think this game is probably, if anything, to the advantage of people who, because Chinese people, non-confrontational sports, they use a lot of thinking, right? A lot of control. That philosophy, that Taoism, that's traditionalism.
Absolutely.
Our politeness, how do we keep calm, respect each other, all those virtues.
The media tends to say that golf is more about a lifestyle for the middle class. Ironically, a golf course is very expensive. Membership of a golf club is very expensive. It's far more than the average income of the middle class.
Yeah.
And income perspective, I mean, income-wise, Sean and Jack,
I'll
are
take
you
this
optimistic
one.
or?
I'll take this one from my own experience. When I was young, coming to Beijing on the Chang'an Street, there's virtually no car, but red flag, Hongqi, and maybe couple Jeep Cherokee. Why? Because it's expensive. Ordinary family cannot afford it. Now, if you go out, you see hundreds of thousands of millions of cars there. I'm not saying golf will be like that, but that could certainly be the trend. In the beginning, always the wealthy and the smaller percentage people pick it up. And then eventually it will be populated, just like anything else.
If corrupt government officials are moved from the list of the club, then what do you think of the financial restraints?
Well, even taking the example of football, the country that changed the way football was played forever was Brazil. And so grass or no grass, Pele learned to play. Pele is the greatest of all time, learned to play with taped up shirts and taped up fruit and played in the favelas in the impoverished areas, or they played on the beach. And I would say that if Pele was given great soccer boots and a great soccer ball on a perfectly manicured grass, he would never have become the skilled player that he was, because he had so much variability in his environment. It challenged his mind and his understanding of the game. And by the time he got to the World Cup, he was undefendable by people who were playing regimental, taught soccer. So there's always opportunity in anything and all things.
When we play golf, very much like my criticism of table manners of some of the Chinese. They tend to use the mobile phone. They spend hours on the WeChat.
Yeah.
That's not just the Chinese. I'd say that's a global phenomenon at this point.
But what are the regulations and rules, the disciplines that would make a golf player more professional?
Well, I think I really think that golf and Chinese tradition and society, they fit so well together. It's
Quiet, respect, right?
quiet, respect, hard work, diligence, getting knocked down, getting back up. I really think that it could ultimately, over the next 20 years, and from my observation only in 6 days, it could catch on like a wildfire as far as the desire to game.
But what
Absolutely.
about the widespread use of fertilizers as well as pesticides? Do you think this is very harmful for the golf players, and particularly for those who invest in properties near the golf course?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's more harmful than the frequency and Wi-Fi and the effect that that's going to have neurologically on us.
Well, this is very encouraging for a guy who may have bought a property near the golf course, right?
Well, I actually studied into that. My background was a little biology, and then I realized that over in the States, right, the person in charge of the grass is not just somebody who grew the grass before, but you have to go to college, agronomy.
Really? You got to have a certificate, a license.
Yes. Absolutely.
You go to college, and every year you're going to go to test, because the government will tell you what kind of chemical is now no good, because they have alternative, it's better for the environment, better for health. So, and look at Arnold Palmer, who's probably one of the most famous golfer. He's 86 years old. He golfed until 88 years old. So he lives on golf course all his life. He played golf all his life, and he's nothing but healthy. And 86.
Yeah, I'm not, in my 32 years being at a golf course, I'm not familiar of hearing of any biological disorder that's caused due to, I mean, we're in a world of processed, preserved chemicals. So I think we're in more danger from Wi-Fi. We're more in danger from what we eat.
How helpful is golf for nurturing good temperament and good character? Because in China, it's a society of social connections. Golf is, of course, an occasion for networking, for business, for whatever. So when you say you play golf quietly, does it mean bind by someone who tends to have domestic violence may have a modest dose of golf therapy. I mean,
You probably have seen more angry golfer in the U.S. anyways.
yeah, they threw their clubs. Once they,
Well, and the reason they do that is
underperform.
because
But they won't be Chinese. Chinese people don't do that.
But golf will always golf always is so humbling. It always show it at the end of 18 holes you shoot a score. And that score is a direct correlation of your skill set. So when you see people getting upset, it always allows me to come in as a philosopher and say, you're only frustrated because you're not as good as you think you are. And it's very important to know truthfully who you are and where you're at that moment. So golf is an incredible mirror to show you, you know, where the places that you need to work. And people always talk about how philosophical I am as a coach, but there's no way you could play golf as much as I have and not turn out to be an amateur philosopher.
Yeah.
PGA Tour is not as popular or half as popular as the ping pong, table tennis. I mean, to start your schooling about the charm of golf and perhaps prospects of having a huge industry, what would you do in the first place? What would be the first few steps you have to take to let the general public in China know, look, you got to follow our suit. In the United States, it's a huge success. You're following our suit in the production of movies. Hollywood blockbusters have enlightened much of our population, and they look at Hollywood in an awesome respect. What about the beginning of golf in China?
I don't think we're doing
you don't
anything.
think it will be difficult?
We're not doing anything intentionally.
Okay.
Almost like it's timing. When the
It's
market is
timing.
ready,
Yes, I
we
agree.
come here because we believe the market is ready, is hungry enough, is thirsty enough. And it's been proven by just a couple of days. When we were with the national team, we felt that desire, that thirstiness.
From the coaches, from
the
everyone
coach, yeah.
connected to the...
And when we see the 6-year-old on the range, Sean was so impressed. He sent a text. He took a picture of the 6-year-old swimming club. He sent it to Tiger Woods and Roy McIlroy, and joking with them, "Hey, I saw somebody who are better than you when he's 6 years old." And he was being truthful. When you look at it, and I think one message we get from there is that there's more people than we thought in China that's not only interested in golf, but they're so enthusiastic. They're so hungry that when they saw Sean coming, they're like, okay, I want to be there. I want to feel it. I want to sense it. They want to be part of it.
And I think one of the best physical training aspects for golf be a combination of some kung fu, some tai chi, and some gymnastics, which has pretty much been dominated by China for 5 decades. I mean, for a long, long time. So the ability to create rotation and torque and velocity and speed.
And graceful part of the culture as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Being graceful and elegant should be the catchphrase, the vocabulary of golf in China, instead of being associated with corruption. Thank you for being with us and being part of this meaningful dialogue. Until next time, goodbye.